9:30 on the button. We're on time this morning. That's kind of unusual for this radio program. But it is at this point on Wednesdays that we present Ask the Lawyer with Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured. And typically we answer a question submitted by you. And to be sure, there are plenty more of those to come in the new year. But today we're going to take a little time to discuss something that's important to absolutely everybody, and that is auto insurance and important consideration. So would you please help me welcome Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Todd. How are you doing this morning?
Excellent. And how's everybody in the Scheiner household?
We're all fantastic. How could you beat Southwest Florida with beautiful sunny days and cool nights?
We have been pushing those record temperatures. I imagine a lot of our northern friends are very envious right about now.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, as we get ready to close down the year and get into a 2022 year ahead, there are things that we should probably be considering. You and I talk a lot about automotive insurance and the different kinds that may be beneficial. In general, I know that from previous conversations, you think the end of the year is a good time to blow the dust off your policy, review everything, and maybe make some changes.
I think that's a very important practice that people should get into, because they should check their policy to make sure they have the coverages that are important to them, and they should realize that every year insurance companies have rate changes.
Yes.
So once a year they should shop out their policy to the major insurance companies. A lot of people have a false impression that there's some kind of loyalty by the insurance company to their insured.
Sorry.
And I could tell you from 50 years of experience that does not exist.
Right.
You know, as long as you don't have a claim and pay your premium, insurance company loves you. As soon as you have a claim, they want to raise your rates or cancel your policy.
You shouldn't necessarily believe when you have to call the insurance company, and let's hope that's not for an accident, for example, but you call just with a question. They usually start the conversation like this. Well, thank you, Mr. Matthews. You've been a loyal customer for 17 years now. We really appreciate your business. You shouldn't necessarily believe that means anything.
Yeah, that's just a bunch of hot air.
Okay.
So the important thing to do is say to yourself, well, why do I have insurance? Mm-hmm. And the reason you have insurance is to protect yourself, your family, and your loved ones.
Right.
And in Florida, it's more important than most places because Florida happens to be the worst state in the United States for insurance coverage. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean 1 out of every 4 vehicles on the road have no insurance.
That's scary.
So it's important that when you're looking at your insurance policy, you're saying, do I have the highest coverage that I could afford to pay? Because it's important to get the highest limits of bodily injury coverage you could afford. And then the second important thing is to make sure you have, and we've talked about it almost every week,
right,
stacking uninsured motorist coverage.
That's right.
Because stacking coverage does 2 things. Number one, if you're in someone else's vehicle and they don't have any insurance, you're involved in an accident, stacking uninsured motorist coverage protects you. Mm-hmm. Also, if you have stacking uninsured motorist coverage, you add the limits of each policy in your house together, and that's the amount you could claim against.
Right.
So if you have, your wife has a car, you have a pickup truck, your son has a motorcycle, and they all have stacking uninsured motorist coverage, you add those policies together to get the amount of coverage you're entitled to recover against.
And that's so important.
And the reason I say it's so important to evaluate how much coverage you could afford, not too long ago, my son's stepfather was riding his motorcycle, minding his own business, and somebody pulled out right in front of him. They took him from the scene of the accident to the hospital. He's in the hospital for 3 hours, stuck in the hallway, and he comes out with a bill for $30,000.
Oh, my goodness.
So you need as much insurance coverage as you could afford to cover these medical expenses, and then you get involved in lost wages and, other damages. But it's critical that you sit down each year, take out your policy, make sure you have the highest limits of bodily injury coverage you can afford, and stacking uninsured motorist coverage equal to your bodily injury liability coverage.
Right.
And the reason I say equal to your bodily is because they won't write a policy for uninsured motorist coverage higher than your bodily injury coverage.
And things are so competitive in the insurance world right now, you might find by switching companies you can afford more insurance.
Absolutely, because I think it's every 3 years the insurance companies go in for a rate hike.
Yeah.
So you want to catch the company before they go in for the rate hike, so their coverage is less expensive than another company.
Right.
And again, people have loyalty to insurance companies, but it's just like buying a gallon of milk in the store. If you buy bodily injury coverage, it doesn't matter if it's from Allstate, Progressive, State Farm, or whoever. It's the same thing. It's just a commodity.
Right.
So you want to buy the commodity at the lowest cost you could obtain.
Now, I know in previous weeks you have offered, if anybody has a question about what their policy currently is, what it should be, how they can best protect themselves, they can always call your office for a quick review.
That's true, and it will remain true forever. I look forward to helping anyone who has questions about their insurance coverage. I'm happy to give them my advice.
Okay. I'm going to give that phone number out in just a moment here. I don't want to waste your time with that. We'll give that out here in just a second after we let you go. Bruce, I think it's very valuable information that you provide. And as we get ready to clean off our desks at work and maybe go through our closets and get rid of some old clothes we don't need in the new year, let's also make sure our insurance policies are up to snuff.
Right. And I'd just like to add one thing.
Sure,
As the motorcycle lawyer, I can't emphasize how important it is to have good uninsured motorist coverage for your motorcycle.
That's right. As the biker's lawyer, you see far too many cases where there's not enough insurance to cover the expenses, and that's sad.
That's true.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Todd.
Oh, thank you for informing all of us. We really do appreciate it. You have yourself a good week.
You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce L. Scheiner, attorney for the injured, and some solid advice that maybe you want to expand upon. If you'd like to call his office, find out more about what your policy is and is not, does and does not, and what it should be, call the Port Charlotte office of 941-743-7777. That's 941-743-7777. Tell them that Todd sent you from Kicks Country 92.9.